So I'm part of a RSO called Loyola Organized in Action, which is a community organizing group, and it's really been spearheading this whole campaign. My role was I helped plan the route and the agenda of the protest and then just spread the word to try to get turnout. So the protest came about because we've gone through every other step that we possibly could and have been ignored the whole way. The administration presented the meal plan to USGA, and within a few hours USGA had crafted this petition and it got 1,200 signatures, and it was presented to the administration and ignored. We really weren't told anything other than that a contract had been signed and they couldn't go back on it. They did tell us that the money's not going to quality of food or worker salaries, and they're requiring students to pay over $9,000 for food over the course of 2 years. The cheapest all-access meal plan equates to students paying over $9 a meal if they eat 3 meals a day for 5 days a week. And that's absurd. The way that I understand it, Loyola is still operating under a surplus. It's just less of a surplus than it was before. So where the bottom line used to be $40 million, it's now something like $4 million, and that really freaks them out. So in my view, there's no reason to raise funds when it's placing an extra burden on students at this point, because we're not in any kind of crisis. I do know a lot of ways that Loyola could be saving money. One example Dr. Kelly, the Vice President of Student Development, gave us was that Loyola subsidizes retreats to Blue Rec campus. So students only have to pay about $20 to go on a weekend retreat, when it really costs upwards of $70 to feed and house a student for a weekend at Blue Rec. And our response to that was, well, don't subsidize the things that aren't required of students. So as soon as the meal plan went into, when it was implemented, we went straight to Dr. Kelly, VP of Student Development. We had over 300 people call and email his office, and over 300 students sign comment cards telling about their concern. And then we had another meeting with him in which he dismissed us again, and we invited him to a public meeting which was hosted by Northside Power, which is a community group in Rogers Park, which we discussed the meal plan and gained community support, and he refused to come to that. So then we attempted to get a meeting with Father Garanzini because we could tell that Dr. Kelly wasn't going to budge. Father Garanzini has refused to meet with us. He's saying that this is non-negotiable. It is just a meal plan we're talking about. But I think the biggest thing is we're told if tuition raises a certain percent, like we get an email, like I think this year we were told that tuition is raising 2.5%. If this were calculated like a tuition increase, it'd be a 6% increase in tuition. And no one was told about it. They were just going to slip it under the rug. The average Loyola student graduates with $24,000 in student debt. The meal plan is just going to increase that number. It makes me really sad that the Jesuit education I'm receiving is becoming less financially plausible for a lot of people. When I chose to come to Loyola, we didn't have Cuneo Hall, we didn't have Damon Student Center, we didn't have all-access meal plans, and it hasn't affected the education I've received in any way. It's still been a really great experience for me based on the community and the professors and the students here who are all like-minded in social justice.
Can you tell me some of the roadblocks that there were to the protest?
Yeah, so we didn't know that there's actually a form you have to fill out to hold a protest on campus to be authorized. So we did fill out the form, and then we had to meet with the administrator, and he actually prevented us from doing a few things we were planning on, which was use a bullhorn at the protest, and we were planning on walking from the quad to Sullivan Center along Sheridan so that cars could see us passing by. He told us we couldn't do that, and the reason he gave us was safety concerns. He was worried that people might get hit by cars, so we had to go along the lake. Even though we couldn't use the bullhorn, we tried a different method called a mic check, where the speaker would yell a line and then the whole crowd would yell it back. So it ended up being even louder than a bullhorn, and that was really successful. We did have a really good turnout, and the enthusiasm levels were awesome. Our goal with the protest was to convince Father Garanzini to meet with a group of students to discuss the issue, and we still haven't got that meeting. But I do think it was successful in other ways. I think it encouraged students to know that it is possible to organize and to have a voice.